Ferrari Grand Prix podium on Mother's Day in front of your mum, and Bono up there as well. How special is that?
Oh, it's such a special day. It's honestly been one of the most amazing weeks I've had. To travel out here with my mum, travel around and get those really special moments together, and then the support for her to also see the support that I get here in Shanghai. It's phenomenal, and I'm so grateful just how they turn up and show up for me here. And then huge congratulations to Kimi. It's a real privilege to kind of see him come, take my place and get to work with an amazing team. Congratulations to everyone at Mercedes, because they've done a phenomenal job. And to be up there with Kimi and with Bono was really, really sweet. And then on top of that, to be Mother's Day, I've got to say Happy Mother's Day to my mum, and a huge Happy Mother's Day to my stepmom Linda, who has been here with me many, many times and is such a huge part of my life. And then obviously to all the mums around the world.
You said to me yesterday you were going to go and do some learning from Australia and about how these cars work and things. And did you really find you put that into practice today? And has that sort of re-energized you, that you can actually have an impact the more you study and the more you put the work in?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, last night was the first time in 20 years that I've been racing, or more than that I've sat and I took my mom through everything I go through, and she was gobsmacked. And so I wish that the world could see the work that goes on, in the background, the amount of studying. It's like, honestly, it's like studying for a test every day. And I've never really been good at tests, but fortunately I'm good at driving. So, but yeah, I learned a lot in the main race, brought it into this race. Still some improvements to be made. But my race pace has been really good, particularly on the hard tires in these first two races. On the medium, I've got to see how I can have more potential, and also in that mid stint there was something not quite right when I was in second and I lost the ground and fell to fourth, and to fight back and get to third was a hell of a push. But lastly, just a massive big thank you to Ferrari. This is my first podium with them, so it's a huge moment for me.
Pretty sure that's an A+.
Lewis and I think, did the maximum. Obviously, we lost some time, so maybe the gap is a bit bigger than what we thought. We lost some times. Once they were gone, we decided that we will fight, at least for the podium. So that didn't optimize our race time, but didn't change anything to our results. But they are just extremely strong at the moment. And I feel like it was a bit of in Australia, we expected them to be so strong, but they never really showed that pace in the race. Yesterday in the sprint race, we expected, they didn't really show. I think they finally showed it today, and it's a big gap. So that's a bit disappointing. But to come back with Lewis's fight, it was very fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure the team enjoyed it as much as we did, but.
Has Ferrari really taken a step forward in China? Or have the statements of its own drivers exposed a much bigger problem within the team? Ferrari arrived at the Chinese Grand Prix with a mix of pressure and expectations after a start to the season that had left many doubts. The team knew that the performance shown previously did not fully reflect its potential, so Shanghai presented itself as a key opportunity to demonstrate that the project could truly compete at the top of the grid. From the first sessions of the weekend, it was clear that the Italian team had found a little more performance in the car, something that generated internal optimism and the feeling that they were finally beginning to see the true face of the car. Over the course of the weekend, Ferrari worked hard between practice and qualifying sessions to transform a car that initially felt complicated into something much more competitive. The engineers managed to adjust the balance of the car and improve its behavior, allowing Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc to fight much more directly with some of their main rivals. This progress was especially significant for Hamilton, who was still in the process of adapting to the team and the car, but who began to show signs that he could extract a very high competitive level from the Ferrari. That progress was reflected in the race. Hamilton achieved an important result that marked a symbolic moment in his new stage with the Italian team. After the race, the Briton described the experience as one of the ones he had most enjoyed recently, highlighting that the team's work had allowed the car to be completely transformed throughout the weekend. For Ferrari, these words represented confirmation that the technical effort was beginning to bear results and that the direction taken in the development of the car was the correct one. However, behind that positive speech, nuances also began to appear that quickly captured attention within the paddock. Hamilton, although pleased with the team's progress, was very direct in pointing out that there are still significant weaknesses in the Ferrari's performance. In particular, he stressed that the car suffers too much on the straights compared to rivals like Mercedes, a difference that is especially noticeable on circuits where engine efficiency and energy management are determining factors. These statements were interpreted by many as more than just technical analysis. In reality, they represented a public warning about the current level of the Ferrari project. Hamilton was acknowledging the team's progress, but at the same time making it clear that there is still a significant gap to some of its main competitors. For a team with the historical pressure of Ferrari, hearing this type of message from its new star signing inevitably generates an internal impact. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc also analyzed the car's performance with a much more analytical and critical tone. The Monégasque explained that, despite the progress made during the weekend, he still feels that the car prevents him from driving at the limit in certain situations. As he explained, the way in which energy is released from the hybrid system conditions his driving and limits the way in which he can attack at certain moments of the race. These words added a new layer of worry within the team. It was not just a question of pure pace, but a deeper problem related to the behavior of the car and its adaptation to the current technical regulations. Leclerc even noted that he had tried different settings and driving styles to try to adapt to this situation, but that the limitations were still present. This made it clear that Ferrari still has work to do if it wants to allow its drivers to exploit the car's full potential. Thus, while from the outside the result of the Chinese Grand Prix could be interpreted as a sign of progress for Ferrari, the statements of its two drivers began to reveal a much more complex reality. The team had taken a step forward, yes, but at the same time it was clear that the path to returning to regularly fight for victories and championships was still full of obstacles. And most importantly, those doubts were no longer being discussed only within the garage, but were now being publicly exposed by the project's own protagonists. At Maranello, they know perfectly well that managing a lineup of drivers of this level is both an opportunity and a huge challenge. Having Hamilton and Leclerc fighting for results can boost the team's overall performance, but it can also create tensions if strategies, team orders, and the expectations of each driver are not correctly managed. The Chinese Grand Prix has been, in many ways, the first clear sign that this competitive relationship could become one of the big themes of the season. Thus, what seemed like a simple duel on the track ended up becoming a warning for Ferrari. The team has shown that it can compete at a good level, but now it must also show that it is capable of managing the internal pressure that comes with having two drivers with such great ambitions sharing the same garage. And if the team fails to maintain that balance, internal rivalry could become as big a problem as any technical weakness in the car. The Chinese Grand Prix ended up leaving Ferrari with a feeling as strange as it was revealing. On paper, the team could leave Shanghai with reasons for optimism. The car had shown progress, Hamilton had achieved an important result, and the pace seemed to be approaching that of some of his main rivals. However, all that progress was partially overshadowed by the impact generated by the statements of its two drivers and by the image of competitive tension that was seen during the weekend. At Maranello, they know that every word spoken by a Ferrari driver has enormous weight in the world of Formula One. That is why Hamilton and Leclerc's statements were not simply interpreted as post-race comments, but as messages that reveal the internal reality of the project. Hamilton made it clear that the team has taken a step forward, but at the same time directly pointed out the weaknesses that the car still has, especially in relation to engine efficiency and energy management. That kind of public analysis, coming from a 7-time world champion who just joined the team, has a huge impact on the external perception of the project. Leclerc's words added even more pressure to the situation. The Monégasque explained that he still cannot drive the car to the limit due to how the release of energy is managed, a problem that conditions his way of driving and which reveals that Ferrari still has important work to do in the development of the car. When a driver publicly acknowledges that he cannot exploit the car's full potential, a narrative of doubt is inevitably generated around the team. What happened in Shanghai, therefore, could be interpreted as the first chapter of a story that is still beginning to be written. Ferrari has shown that it can approach the pace of the leading teams, but has also made it clear that it still has technical areas to improve and a delicate internal balance to manage. The combination of sporting progress, media pressure, and rivalry between two extremely competitive drivers makes the Italian team one of the main focuses of the season. Thus, Ferrari leaves China with two realities coexisting at the same time. On the one hand, the feeling that the project is beginning to find the right path to fight again at the top of the grid. On the other hand, the certainty that the margin of error is minimal and that each statement, each duel on the court, and each result will be analyzed in detail inside and outside the team. And if this Grand Prix has made anything clear, it is that Ferrari's real challenge this season will not just be building a faster car, but managing everything that happens around it. Ferrari left the Chinese Grand Prix with a reality that perfectly summarizes the moment the team is going through. On the one hand, the performance shown over the weekend left clear signs of progress. The work carried out by the engineers made it possible to transform a complicated car into a much more competitive car, something that even Lewis Hamilton recognized after the race by highlighting that the team had taken an important step forward. But at the same time, the words of the drivers themselves made it clear that there are still weaknesses that Ferrari must solve if it wants to aspire to something bigger this season. Hamilton and Leclerc's statements exposed two sides of the same reality. Hamilton spoke enthusiastically about the team's progress, but also issued a clear warning about the car's limitations, especially on the straights and in the efficiency of the power system. Leclerc, for his part, was even more direct in acknowledging that he currently cannot drive the car to the limit due to the way the energy is released, something that conditions his driving style and limits the car's potential. These words reflect that Ferrari is moving forward, but has not yet reached the level necessary to constantly fight for victories. In short, what happened in Shanghai was not simply another race on the calendar. It was a moment that revealed a lot about the real state of Ferrari. A team that seems to have taken a step forward in sports, but at the same time faces enormous pressure, both due to external expectations and the internal dynamic that is being formed between its two drivers. And if something has become clear after this Grand Prix, it is that Ferrari's immediate future will not only depend on improving the car, but also on how they manage everything that is starting to happen within the team. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.